Welcome to the Pitting Combination Podcast. I'm KJ Pilcher of the Gazette alongside Hall of Famer Dick Briggs, ready to talk a little college wrestling postseason edition, Briggsy.
Yeah, we got the girls. The first NCAA Women's is a wrap. We got D3 this weekend, and Big 10s and Big 12s and all the qualifying are done for the Division I, and they'll be in 2 weeks. Week and a half.
Where do you want to start? Do we want to start with the Big 10s and Big 12s and kind of get that out of the way, or do we want to talk about the first NCAA Women's Championship first?
Let's do Big 10s.
Okay. There. All right. So no surprise, Penn State dominates its way to a Big 10 title, 7 champs, 8 finalists. pretty amazing there. Ohio State ends up getting second. Nebraska convincing third place for the Huskers. Iowa comes away with fourth. We said there would be kind of a cluster of teams there behind Penn State and Ohio State. Penn State 184 points. Ohio State 148.5. Then Nebraska, pretty convincing number 3, which not really a surprise, but we thought maybe some teams could challenge them if they slipped up. But, they were 29, almost 30 points ahead of Iowa. But Iowa actually closer. This is going to sound like I'm piling on, but Iowa actually closer to 8th place than they were 3rd place.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like we said, we knew that, though. You mentioned it, that cluster of teams that were vying for 4th place, really. I mentioned Nebraska had 5 runners up. They didn't have a very good championship round there, but Nebraska, like you said, pretty distant, for Iowa. And Iowa was 4th by half a point over Michigan. So, like we said, it's a cluster there. And honestly, I think Iowa wrestled pretty decent.
Really?
In some places. There's some other times when maybe not so much, but they kind of wrestled to their seed and above their seed, particularly at heavyweight. And if Ferrari doesn't medical forfeit out, he's going to finish higher than 8th. So he would have bumped up the seed. But, so I think Iowa was 13 spots above their seeds. So, but like I said, a good portion of that is Keeter at heavyweight 10th and finished 4th. So he jumped six spots there. But they got qualified, and so I think they did what they're pretty much expected to do, at least in their minds,
Right. I know 4th place is not what the fan base wants. That's something that they're going to look at constantly. The fact that they didn't have an individual champion for the 3rd straight season, that's something that stands out. Even though Mikey Caliendo got to the championships, lost to Mitchell Messenbrink. I don't think he wrestled bad against Messenbrink either, but Messenbrink is just so good. But Caliendo, he didn't back down, initiated some offense. It just Messenbrink's that good. He's able to score on his own, and he's able to counter. It didn't really matter what Caliendo did, but it was a heck of an effort.
Right. I mean, you consider Iowa didn't have a champ, but there's only 3 schools that did have champs.
That's true. That's true.
So stingy with that,
Yep. And the only other 2 outside of the home team that had champ, Ohio State and Michigan, right?
Right. Ohio State had pulled not an upset, but got the win at 33, and which is just a loaded weight anyway. So
yeah, Davino over Blaze, and then Jesse Mendez at 141. That's where I think one of Iowa's. Obviously, Drake Ayala, right? Postseason, Ayala seems to wrestle his best, and he's coming up to the finish line, right? When it comes to his folk style career, and we thought, hey, this even with all the struggles this year, this could be where, he kind of makes his hay, right? And he did. Ends up getting third, battled Blaze. I think it was in sudden victory of the loss against Blaze. So I think it was a good tournament for him. But the one outside of Caliendo, outside of Ayala, you mentioned Keeter, able to put together some wins. I think he might have won 3 straight on the backside to get that third place match again, which is, I don't think people outside of those who have been in that position know how tough that is. That backside rest.
That's brutal. I mean, besides the physical part, you're coming up after hammer trying to stay alive in the tournament to get yourself qualified. Now in nationals, it's like to get yourself that All-American medal. And it's brutal. Geez, it's tougher on the backside than the front side. I mean, your mindset and everything is it's a whole different game.
Yep. For me, I think one of the standouts was Nasir Bailey. His only loss came to Jesse Mendez. He ends up finishing third at 141. He's had some injuries and stuff, but I think you've got to be pretty happy with his performance out there. Getting third place. I know the fan base is going to be like third place. You're celebrating third place, and I understand that. But I think, Jesse Mendez is one of the best pound for pound wrestlers in college wrestling, and that was his only setback at the conference tournament. I think Bailey wrestled really well.
Right. I mean, Jesse Mendez is a candidate for the Hodge, and maybe he should win it.
Yeah.
There's two, three guys we're talking about here, and he's one of them. So, I agree on that. I think the fan base, if they're saying that or thinking that, they need to look at reality this season. They're not happy that we're not champions or even second for that matter, but or in the hunt for the title. But that's reality this year. It's been a struggle. The wrestlers have struggled. The coaches have struggled. The fan base, you struggled a lot too. So it's time to face reality. And if these guys are stepping up, give them some accolades there and some kudos.
Dean Peterson, back in the lineup, towards the end of the season, he ends up finishing fifth. The ones, Ryder Block didn't place, but ends up getting ninth and secures an automatic berth. Kennedy finishing fourth. Really just one bad loss in there. Shout out to Christopher Minto. Okay. The biggest thing going in that bracket and the seeding for that was something that was the biggest lightning rod, right? Or one of them. Saying, God, how did he get the number one seed? We were saying it. Saying it. And boy, he's in the finals, beat Kennedy, avenged that loss in the finals, and wrestled Haynes competitively in the finals. So hats off to him for what he did there. Mentioned Ferrari lost to Rocco Welch in tiebreakers, and then medically forfeited, had an automatic berth in hand at that point.
Right.
With a 8th place finish, or he wrestled a Conti match and then medically forfeited to get into the top 8. And then Gabe Arnold, didn't place, but then won the what do they call it, the 9th or 11th place bracket, because 97 had 10 qualifiers. Kind of a Swiss Army knife for Iowa, Mr. willing to do everything for the Hawkeyes, and bumps up to 97 and is moving on to the national tournament for the 2nd straight year.
Right. And just to echo, Peterson wrestled 3 above his seed. So like you said, good for him. Ayala, we mentioned, was 2 above his seed. And same with Arnold, 2 above. So Arnold is just out. He's the first one in, at least in the Big Ten here. you'd think. And then Vojinovic also, he's the first one out, and he was ninth, finished ninth, and 8 qualify. So I don't know. We'll see with the at large, but there's a good chance that Iowa might add a couple there.
I haven't looked at the entire landscape of who didn't qualify. I think the fact that Vinny Zerbin for Iowa State, which we'll talk about here in a sec, didn't qualify, and it's going to eat up one of those at-large bids. I think it's going to make Voinovic's it's going to make it a little tougher on him to secure one of those. It's a possibility that they could take all 10, and I think Iowa, with all that they've gone through, probably pretty fortunate to have 9 to 10 wrestlers heading to Cleveland, to be honest.
Right, and those I appreciate Vojinovic and Arnold doing their part to put themselves in the best position to be able to be an at-large. If they don't win that little mini bracket there, then there's a pretty good chance they have no chance.
Arnold's an automatic qualifier.
Oh, did Arnold? Arnold did get it in. Okay.
Yeah, because they have 10, so he finished 9th officially.
I think he finished 11th, didn't he?
No, he finished 9th.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he was.
No, that's okay. It's really weird because they call it an 11th place bracket for some stupid reason. Because they take 10, so those mini brackets are meant to figure out who the next guy out is, right? So that's why they wrestle to 9 if they take 8. So you're wrestling to find out who's 11th. So you have those 2 extra qualifiers. So I think it was Whistler from Michigan State and Arnold, who finished 9th and 10th, just outside of the top 8. And then whoever number 11th is the next one in like the pecking order from the Big Ten for at-large bids. It's really convoluted and kind of silly, and almost makes you want to go back to the wild card system.
Yeah, I mean that just says it right there. I mean, I'd like to think I have a little bit of information and knowledge through the years.
You do, I know, and that's what.
It's confusing.
Imagine what the casual fan is dealing with.
Right, exactly. Jeez. Craziness.
Right. Yeah. So and that was a lot on social media too. There's a lot of confusion, even with some other reporters and stuff that were sharing that information. And I know I had 2 or 3 people responding when I was like, here are the automatic qualifiers. And they're like, Arnold's in? Didn't think he was in. It's like, no, he's in. So they have 9 automatics. Vojinovic is the one that is the question mark. And like I said, with Zerbin medically forfeiting out of the Big 12s, you figure if he's healthy and going, he's going to get an at-large bid. So I think that leaves it down to only 4 sitting out there at 157 to be doled out here this week.
Well, I'll say this. I apologize to Gabe Arnold and the Gabe Arnold fans because I'm one of them. And so I'm glad to hear that he's in. So.
Any other final thoughts from the Big Ten championships?
Nope.
There's some big upsets. I'll just say that, one of them being Joey Blaze losing to the kid from Rutgers in the quarterfinals. So we didn't get that rematch between Caliendo and Blaze in the semis. I think there are a couple others, maybe at 141 with Oliveri and Davis. But it promised to be a really exciting tournament, and it delivered.
Yep, and it would have been. I'll just say this: maybe there's some, because this has been a lot of talk about it, but a couple of calls that were kind of shaking your head and going, "What?" And Ferrari and Porters, who's the Penn State kid. in that goes on and wins it. Welsh, and then Welsh in the finals, and so scratching your head on those a little bit. But that is what it is. So,
okay, last word on the Big Ten. Did you think Max McAnally had a takedown at the end of that 184 final? Or regulation.
I was pulling for McAnally. I think he's a good wrestler, and that's part of my. Actually, I'm going to follow it up with this. My teeing it up, but I don't think it was there. I just think it was so quick in high school. Definitely not even close. I mean, you're going to be waiting on that one, but in college, it's a different animal. And I just didn't think it was there as much as I really wanted it to be there.
Sure.
And so, yeah. So no, I didn't think it was there.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
Unless you had another comment on that, I was going to follow it up with teeing up because that really is appropriate right now, and it's very brief.
All right, swing away, Briggsy with his teeing up.
All right. So my teeing it up this week. Just imagine how exciting college wrestling would be, and international wrestling for that matter, if the wrestlers would open up their offense like McAnally did in the last minute there, kind of in the tiebreaker. Man, that guy was going after it. He saw what he had against an incredibly good wrestler, Welsh. And but some do. Messenbrink, Mendez, Duke, Jack Forrest, Montaños, Bastida. Some of those guys do open it up. But man, if wrestlers would just open it up like that instead of wrestling so cautious and waiting till sudden victory, and man, TV ratings would just skyrocket. Arenas would sell out. And that's it. I'm done. Open up and wrestle, huh, guys?
So I'm going to add this too. And it's interesting that you mentioned this. So I'm watching the Big Ten tournament on TV, listening to Ironside and Grace do their play-by-play. And of course, when there's not an Iowa guy wrestling, they were talking about the championship matches going on. That was one of the exact points that Ironside made about Marcus Blaze at the 133 final, that once Davino got an advantage in the overtimes, then all of a sudden it was like a bat out of hell to his offense. And he's like, where was that the last 9 minutes?
Right.
Where was that the last 8 minutes where you could have been firing off shots and having those kinds of attacks? Now, it's tough to sustain, but, you do that early. Speaking as a heavyweight, right? How many times have you seen heavyweights get down to 1-1, trying to get a takedown when you're both tired and trying to push big bodies around? That was one of the things coaches always said, go out and get the first one. Get it when you're fresh. And then when you're pushing each other, you already have an advantage. So do that out of the gate, which is easier said than done. But I mean, I think it's something that goes along with what you were saying.
Right. And I did not hear Ironside. I was not listening to this. So it's interesting to hear him say that as well.
No, that's why it was a coincidence. You guys, Jayhawk mentality, right? Well, let's head down to Tulsa here. The Big 12s, again, kind of like the Big 10. No surprise with the team champion Oklahoma State with 176 points, 32 ahead of runner-up Iowa State. Iowa State, I think, has got to be pretty happy with their performance. A couple champs in Rocky Elam, Younger Bastida, 9 automatic qualifiers going on to Cleveland, and I would say a pretty darn good chance as long as he's healthy, because he did medically forfeit out of the tournament before getting an automatic bid. But Vinny Zerbin, I think, would be that guy, one of those guys to get an at-large. So good showing there for Iowa State.
Right, and I'll just give you a little listeners a little information. Oklahoma State had had 8 finalists. They went 4-4 in the finals, and they had a 3rd and an 8th place. So they had all 10 qualified, and 9 of the 10 were a 3rd or better. So Oklahoma State is a real trophy threat. I don't think they can threaten Penn State, but you never know, right? But
Right.
I think they're definitely a contender for that 2nd place trophy for sure.
I think it'll be fun with both OSUs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. For years and years, OSU was just Oklahoma State University, and then
I know.
and now it's confusing for me. So as far as Iowa State, Elam keeps them close, and it's making me nervous come nationals. Bastida is just running it. He's doing a good job. So, he's making heavyweight look like it's not much of a he's the guy, and that's unusual because heavyweight's been such a battle for the last few years. So I don't know if he's making it look easier. I don't want to snake bite him or whatever, but such a good job there. Anyway, then also Poulin at 125 and Echemendia were finished in the runner-up spot, so they did a good job as well.
Yeah, Echemendia with a really entertaining final with Sergio Vega, those freshmen. Really wrestled well for Oklahoma State. One of the standout for the Cyclones, got to give it to Garrett Grice.
Oh, yeah.
Last minute replacement for Evan Frost, who unfortunately unable to go. I believe it was coined as a coach's decision there at 133. So Frost, the former All-American, not in the postseason this year. So Grice, the youngster, gets in, and what's he do? He finishes 6th and punches. He's moving on to the national tournament.
Right. And now the concerning part there is that he medical forfeited, as did Isaac Dean, in his last match or two. Anyway, to fall into that 6th place, both of them fall into that 6th place spot. So again, hopefully they're not injured bad enough, and it's just to kind of give them a little bit more a time to recover and not have to go through a couple of tough matches there. So we'll see on that.
I think that's I think that's probably the case. That's where Zurban's a little bit different, where he didn't have that that automatic distinction, even though I'm sure they're probably pretty confident that he'd get an at-large. So we'll see how that goes. Connor Uten at 165, MJ Gaitan both got 3rd place. I think that's a positive for Iowa State. Uten was the one who had to wrestle above his seed to get an automatic berth, and he ended up getting 3rd. A couple nice wins, including one over Downey, 13-12 in the 3rd place match.
Right, Uden, that's the weight class that had only 4 automatic qualifiers. He was seeded 5th, so you're right. He had to, which he did. He jumped up to 3rd, and so a good show there. And those, all of the kids above him were ranked wrestlers. You had the 4th, 5th, 10th, and 12th ranked wrestlers. Uden being the 13th ranked. So good showing there. He did have a good tournament.
Jacob Frost, he ends up getting 4th at 149, bounced back from a loss to Caleb Rachi of Northern Iowa in the semis, to finish in the top 4 there and move on. Seeing what Iowa State was able to do at the Big 12s and probably moving their full lineup to Cleveland, are the Cyclones in a position to win a trophy again?
Yeah, I think so. I think they might. We'll see, but I think they could fall in there at 3rd or 4th, maybe. And I don't know if they can battle the 2nd. Possibly they have a good tournament. Nebraska did it last year, so had a great tournament. So we'll see if the Cyclones can step up this year. But I'm worried about the injuries. They've got those 3 injuries that are just a little have me worried, concerned.
And we'll talk about it a little bit more next week when we kind of have our primer for the national tournament. But kind of looking, they've got 3 guys that could be in the finals and 2 possible champs. With Bastida, with Elam, and then another finalist in Echemendia possibly. I don't think it's out of the question. It'll be a tough go there at 141, but we'll see.
I would agree. And then throw in a couple others that could possibly make the stand, I think that would put them in trophy contention.
Sure. We mentioned Caleb Rachi. He ends up as a runner-up at 149. Good for him. He's kind of had a long journey, and now the former Hawkeye NCAA qualifier is going to the national tournament for UNI now. He made it to the finals, lost to Casey Swiderski there to finish second. It was just 5-3 in the finals, but Rachi really coming through there in his final postseason.
Yeah, he had a good run throughout the tournament, and he was let's see, what was he? What seed was he? He was
Well, that's a good question.
I couldn't listen him now. Anyway, he was the 6th seed.
Maybe the 6th seed?
But the 6th seed just below the cutoff line. The automatic qualifiers were 5, so he had a great run, took second, and he had all of the guys above him, the 5 seeded guys above him were ranked wrestlers. You got 7, 8, 15, 21, 19 that were all above him. So he had a good run. That's a tough weight class. 33 was also kind of a tough run. Farber, who finished 3rd, was seeded 6th, and all the guys above him and 2 guys below him were ranked wrestlers. So another good run for those 2. Though overall, I don't know that UNI is really happy. I think they probably didn't wrestle like they wanted to, other than those 2 guys. It was also their 3rd qualifier, and he finished 4th, but he was seeded 2nd, if I remember right.
Yep.
And so not a good tournament for Downey, but he's good enough, and he's shaking it off throughout the season that he'll be back. He'll have a good tournament, I think.
Yep, and it's going to be tough. They've had a lot of injuries and a lot of adversity this season. I think Simma's somebody that could get a wild card. I'm not sure about Trevor Anderson. I know somebody said that he was walking around and seemed to be doing okay, but that injury suffered against Poland in the quarterfinals. That didn't look good. And he's had kind of a tough season at 12-11. That's going to be tough. Simma, I think, is okay, but other than that, not a lot of good prospects for at-large bids for the Panthers.
What about Fox? Is he an at-large
See, that's another one that's on the borderline. What was he? How many automatic qualifiers did they get at 84?
They got 8. He's, I think, finished 9th.
Okay. Well, he was the 5th seed.
Yeah.
And they had 8, and he finished 9th. So he obviously qualified or earned an allocation as a 5th seed, and they had 8 qualifiers. So Fox probably, again, depending on who didn't qualify at the other tournaments, I would think maybe Fox could be in line with Simma to get a berth.
Right. I mean, like we said, he wrestled that little mini tournament back and put himself in the best position to have that opportunity. Simma, who I don't think he won a match, did he, with his injuries and that sort of thing. So That's a question mark on where, what his health is as well. So I mean, it's a brutal season. It's been so long. We've been talking a lot about it so far today. How many injuries and medical forfeits there have been in the Big Tens and Big 12s here, and the other qualifiers.
Right. Any other final thoughts from the Big 12?
Nope.
Right.
Good there.
Well, let's talk about the NCAA Women's Tournament now. The first one ever held at the inaugural NCAA Women's Championships. I was corrected. I was said it was the official name was the NCAA National Collegiate Women's Wrestling Championships because it was a multi-divisional championship, so I had to have that distinction. I don't know why. Just word salad there.
Is it
but anyway, we're going to just call it the NCAA Women's Championships.
Is it changing? Is it changing next year when they go to the divisionals?
I think it's 2 years.
Or 2 years.
So I think it's 27-28 to where D3 will have its own championship. And I'll be really curious to see if they make any exceptions or allow teams to apply, because I have a feeling that if North Central had the opportunity to wrestle the bigger schools, they would.
I would agree at this point in time, and why not?
Yeah, but we'll see how the next couple of years play out, and how some of the other, Oklahoma State will probably be in the field. Iowa State dropped their gymnastics program. There's a big hullabaloo with that. I'm not going to get into that, but they talked about adding another women's sport, and of course, women's wrestling is the first one that pops into your head to fill that void for the Cyclones. We'll see if that is something that comes to fruition or not, but did have a great theme race, a lot of exciting action. You were right there on the floor for the tournament. What was your takeaway? What did you think about what you saw down there at Extreme Arena on Friday and Saturday?
The quality of wrestling for women's and for girls in high school has improved, and it continues to improve. What I saw was a lot of matches that didn't go. In the past, we've seen someone get a takedown and then a leg lace and go bang, 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 match over. And that still happens occasionally when you get into a leg lace. But the competitiveness of it and the grittiness of it, boy, there's some girls that are just Brianna Gonzalez comes to mind with her knee.
First one I thought of.
Right, and just the toughness that they bring to the sport, and to see that grittiness, and I really like that. It's fun to watch the progression of that.
Yep, and interesting you mentioned Brie Gonzalez. Nyla Valencia was another one who 2 years in a row had injuries that kept her out of being able to compete. Ends up becoming an All-American, finishing fourth at 110. That just kind of showed you a little bit. I think it was injury that ended up knocking her out after she lost in the semis to the top seed. So the one thing just really quick that I got from talking to a lot of the wrestlers there, and especially beforehand, talking to Audrey Jimenez, the national champ from Lehigh, outstanding international competitor. But they said, what's it like? You didn't have the women wrestlers that you looked up to were Olympic wrestlers, right? You didn't have NCAA champions like your male counterparts did to look up to. What's it like to kind of now wrestling for an NCAA title and knowing that there are little girls that are in the stands looking up at you saying, hey, I want to be like the NCAA champ Audrey Jimenez. And it really hit home to her And she talked about how she never really thought about that, but how much it meant to her to be able to do that. Katie Lang, she won her third national title, two of them with the NCWWC, one at Augsburg, and then last year for Grand Valley State, one for the Lakers this year at 138 to kick off. Actually, the first ever NCAA champ because they started at 138. She said it didn't hit home until she saw them roll out the mats in a video online, and it said NCAA across it, and it meant something. Not that the other ones didn't, but this was just different.
Right.
You got that feel from a lot of them.
Right. I think that the listening to some of the comments that you were sharing with me from the gals, that they're so appreciative of the opportunity, and they're throwing back the kudos to the NCAA, I think, and it may be indirectly, but you're right. Those tournaments that led up to this, there's nothing less than those. It's probably the same schools, maybe even some more since they split off. And but here it is. It's the inaugural, and so you want that. I kind of like I'm not sure. The belt's pretty cool, I think. But what do you think about that? Do you like the belt? It's new, so
I liked it because it was in addition to like the plaques and stuff. So they still got their NCAA plaques like they normally award. I think the belts were just kind of an extra from the local tournament organizers.
Right. Oh, is that right? Okay. Oh,
yeah.
cool.
So it was the belts didn't replace the NCAA trophy stuff, so they still got those, but the belts were in addition to that. So I liked it. And you saw that at the Big Ten men's tournament too. They had the little belts.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. I thought it was neat.
Right. I think, you obviously get that with the, I don't watch it, but there was the WW, whatever it's called. But you get those belts they've had for years. But
and
then,
the UFC.
The UFC now, and then also the real freestyle, whatever it's called.
Oh, yeah. Real American Freestyle.
Real American Freestyle, right, with the belts there. And so I think it's a trend. I like it. That's neat.
And what a team race. What a team race down there. McKendree ends up winning their last three finals to beat Iowa by 5 points. Iowa with three champs, Kennedy Blades, Kylie Welker, Valerie Solorio, 160, 180, and then 103. Iowa did just about everything it could there. The one finalist that didn't win, Reese Laramendi, lost to Bellamere, former Hawkeye, now at North Central, of course, daughter of MMA fighter Frank Mir. She got a pin over Laramendi, former teammates, in the final there at 145. But I think Iowa left it all out there. Just McKendree, very stacked team.
Right, and it was fun because throughout the tournament, McKendree would make a big run in the early part of each round, because of their strength down there at the lower weights, and then Iowa would come back and kind of gather in McKendree and with the strength of their upper weights, and so it's kind of fun to watch that. I'm going, oh, McKendree's starting to run away with it. Oh, nope, Iowa's coming in with Kennedy Blaze and so forth, and that group there at the upper weight. So anyway, it was fun to watch that. It made it exciting.
Yep. Just kind of looking, Kennedy Blades, Welker, so good. They're world-class athletes, right? Yeah. And you have to appreciate how good they are. That's an Olympic silver medalist and a world medalist between those two. Roommates, workout partners, warm-up partners. You can see the two of them kind of pushing each other to new heights. And they were already really good coming in, right? So that's awesome. Valerie Solorio. I don't believe she was part of the team last year. Last year they were able to qualify 15 under the non-sanctioned tournament. She wasn't even part of that 15 that wrestled for Iowa and their national championship team last year. Now she's in the lineup and she wins the national title there. What a great performance from her there in the lightest weight class.
Right, and she's giving up some height too. She's a gal, but she brings it. I like it. It's fun.
Kind of interesting in the semi. She got a pin to be Iowa's first finalist, and as she's working the bar arms, somebody yelled at her, "Heads up!" She looked up to arch back, sees her dad in the crowd while she's finishing off the pin, kind of gives him a little peace sign.
I see that.
And one of the reasons why it was so interesting or notable, she said her dad hadn't watched her live for 11 years, or since she was 11. Since she was 11.
Wow.
And the reason why is because he gets anxious and he gets really nervous, which then makes her nervous and really anxious.
Oh, yeah.
And she said by the end of the weekend, we just don't like each other.
Oh.
So it was kind of an unwritten, he stays home and watches live streams and doesn't, get there so she can relax and do her thing. He was there and she still excelled and won a title. So that was really cool. And she's like, he's my best friend. So that's one of the reasons why it was great to finally have him there. So that was a neat side note for Iowa and Solorio.
It's neat, but not.
Well, kind of. I get what you're saying, but the fact that he was there and she still did well and they were able to kind of get over that stuff.
That's the neat part. The not so neat part is missing all those years of watching her wrestle live. So
yeah.
Yep.
And then last thing to kind of mention, McKendree's Cam Gearin. She finished off her career with a fifth title. Obviously 4 of them were before the NCAA event, but she ends up being a 5-time national champ, beat Alexis Janiak of Aurora in a battle of national champs there to close out the night and the cap McKendree's championship. So overall, it was an awesome event. I can't wait to see it continue to grow. The only thing I found upsetting, or not upsetting, but disappointing, is that the lack of foresight on other tournaments.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean youth tournaments of being scheduled. And I don't know what the schedule limitations are or whatever, but you've got to find a way to make sure the wrestlers are not, that was a huge deal. And that place should have been filled with those younger wrestlers, but there are some that were competing elsewhere. It should have been open and easier for those younger wrestlers to go down there and watch that national tournament.
Right. I mean, and to follow up, it was the AAU state tournament in Cedar Rapids here at the arena that was just loaded for the girls, and it was the state, and it was at North Liberty. I'm not even sure what this facility was in North Liberty. It was the U17 Pan American team trials for the women, and then the Pee Wee girls tournament up in Waterloo. So I mean, it just wiped out the entire fan base for those young girls to watch the tournament. So I agree with you with that 100%.
Yep. One other thing before we get into the D3 preview, just want to mention Grandview won the NAIA championship. They scored 192.5 points over Life, who had 166. Grandview got championships from Gabe Gonzalez at 133, Chris Ketchum at 174, and then Garavus Kua Hakabili Aho. I just butchered his name, but he won at 197. Eli Larson and Cam Robinson, runners up at 149 and 165. The NAIA women will have their NCAA championships this coming up weekend on Friday, Saturday. Actually, that's in Wichita, Kansas. One to watch out there. Obviously, Life is one of the top teams. Grandview and William Penn right there. William Penn beat Grandview by 1 point in the Heart of America Athletic Conference tournament. Of course, former Hawkeyes Jake Cadle and Cash Wilkie leading the William Penn women's program down there. They're led by Mia Palumbo at 110, Christiana Agansana 117, and Esther Kalawoli at 138. So that's this weekend. Let's move on to the D3s. That's at Cedar Rapids, Iowa, this Friday and Saturday. Action begins at 10 a.m. with preliminary matches. Then first round bout, followed by first round consolation on Friday. Second session with the quarterfinals and second and third round consolations are at 5 o'clock. Begin at 5 o'clock on Friday. Then Saturday, session 3 is at 10 a.m. Semifinals, and then all the way through the placing matches. And then the championship matches, 7 o'clock p.m., all at Lion Energy Powerhouse in downtown Cedar Rapids. Briggsy, what's your take on the D3s this weekend?
If Wartburg doesn't win it, then I don't know. They stubbed their toe pretty good. They have 2 number 1 ranked kids, a number 2 ranked, a number 3 ranked, a 5, and an 8th ranked. So I mean they're pretty solid. The other teams that can maybe give them a run would be Roanoke, who has a number 1, number 2, a 4, and then 4 sixes. Oh no, not sixes, contenders, I guess. And anyway, and then Augsburg, who has 10, but I don't know if they have enough firepower. They've got 6 ranked wrestlers, whereas so that's the same as Wartburg and 1 more than Roanoke. But I just think it's Wartburg's. If they don't win it, shame on them, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Wartburg has both the balance and the high seeds. Right. You know, you've kind of got to have a little bit of both. You got to have those individuals that can rack up a lot of points. You know, those guys that can get into the 20-point range, right, for your team. And I think we're in agreement. Augsburg doesn't, you know, I know they've got Matt Randolph and Cooper Willis, who are number 2 seeds at 49 and 65. But just not sure they're going to be able to get enough points there. On the other side of that, the team, and I can't remember if you mentioned them, I think a team that's kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum, College of New Jersey, you know, they have the potential for 3 or 4 champs, but they've only got 6 guys in the field. So they've got guys that can put up a lot of points, even though they don't have the quantity. But I think they're a team that can contend for one of those trophies with Wartburg and Roanoke, who I think are kind of the closer to those two. And it's, you know, Wisconsin lacrosse is another team. You know, they might have the bodies like Augsburg, but, you know, there's a huge difference between first, second, third place points and 6th, 7th, 8th place points, if that makes sense.
Right.
And you know, that really weighs heavy when it comes to the team race. Like you, I think Wartburg's got to be the heavy favorite. I like Roanoke, which I think is just a little bit better of a dual team than maybe a tournament team, but they'll still be right up there. My top 3 predictions are Wartburg, Roanoke, and College of New Jersey.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go with that just off the top of my head. I'm going to go Wartburg, Roanoke, and Augsburg.
Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of, the 3 teams that I kind of wavered on, it was College of New Jersey, Augsburg, and Wisconsin lacrosse. I kind of deleted and replaced like 2 or 3 times there. So
right, and with lacrosse, they lost one of their top. I believe the number 1 seed, if I remember right, maybe at 133 or whatever, that did not qualify. He got beat and then got upset at the regionals. So, so that's my reason for not rolling with Coach Malachek and the lacrosse team
and the Eagles. Okay. As far as the American River Conference teams, co-qualified 5, Braden Park at 125, Dresden Grimm at 141, Bo Kudum at 165, Jean Ngoma at 197, and Wyatt Smith at 285. Just want to highlight, Park last year was unranked, ended up being an All-American. He's the number 11 seed at 125, so keep an eye on him. He was a regional runner-up, but seems to really put it together here in the postseason. Bo Kudum, a freshman, got a big win over Luther's Clayton McDonough in the regional final. Was leading 6-0 when it was an injury default, but still was ahead there. And then Jean Ngoma, he was a state finalist for Xavier last year, lost to Drashawn Ross, who a lot of people have. But the reason is he came in at semester. So he's had only a semester with the team and the program, and he's in the field. He's somebody that probably might be flying under the radar a little bit. He was a regional runner-up, the 4th seed, Dorota from Wartburg. So he's somebody that, and really, I think all 5 have a legit shot of being on the podium somewhere. Whether that that comes to fruition, we don't know. But I think they best. I think if they wrestle their best, they could end up going 5 for 5 with All-Americans, which is pretty lofty but possible. Cornell, they have 1 qualifier, Brian Petrie at 165. Luther qualified 3 with Connor Kidd at 133. Clayton McDonough and Bryce McDonough at 65 and 74. That's another situation where they've got 3 guys and they could walk away with 3 All-American honors as well. Central qualified Pierre Baldwin, Cade Siebrecht at 149, Baldwin at 41, and Samuel West at 197. Cade Siebrecht, former Lisbon and University of Iowa wrestler, and was a regional champ in Dubuque in the qualifier. So keep an eye out for Siebrecht there. Dubuque, 2 qualifiers, Colton Weiler, Zane Pinnell, and then Loris had 7 overall. Can Loris make a run? They've got 7 bodies in the tournament. Are they somebody that could get anywhere in that 3rd, 4th, 5th range?
Yes, I think they're a bit of a dark horse. Had 7 qualifiers, and so, but they've been coming on towards the end here, doing a nice job. So yes, I think they could make a run. I don't know that they will. When you've got Augsburg, Wartburg, Roanoke, lacrosse, and then also Baldwin Wallace has 7 qualifiers as well, which is the same as Loris. So
sure.
A couple of teams there that could battle it. So we'll see.
And I believe Baldwin Wallace is coached by former Western Dubuque prep Jamie Gibbs as well. So little area Eastern Iowa connection with that. Loris probably have to wrestle their best tournament and kind of get some help along the way. I'm just going to share my predictions. Here are my individual predictions. 125, Guzman from North Central. 133, going with Wabash's James Day. And then 141, I believe it's Mark Samuel of Roanoke as a champ there. Angelo Centrone from SUNY Cortland, the national runner-up last year. Then kind of going with some Iowa picks. Wartburg's Charlie Dojan at 157. And then Clayton McDonough from Luther at 65. Assuming he's healthy. Then Mays from College of New Jersey at 74. Smith of the Elizabethtown at 84. DJ Henry of College of New Jersey at 97. And then Williamson finishing it off for Wartburg at heavyweight.
I can never count on heavyweight.
Yeah.
It seems like
this tournament, you're going to get somebody that's going to blow up a bracket where you have a 6, 7, or 8 seed in the finals. It's just it's something that you could almost bet on.
Right, and that's that first round. You typically see a 1 or 2 go down. I think we saw that with Coe at heavyweight. Was that 3 years ago in Cedar Rapids or whatever it was?
Mm-hmm.
So you just never know. I mean, remember, there's only 21 wrestlers in each bracket, so it's not like you get necessarily an easy first round. You can see some good matchups there going. But that's when only 21 wrestlers per weight. You don't see a whole lot of shifting with teams. If you get a win or 2 right off the bat, now you got points on the board, and that's why you don't see the teams shift too much. I don't think, anyway. But if you had a full bracket of 32, then it'd be a different story. You got backside things that can happen, and front side as well.
Any final thoughts about the upcoming competition here this weekend?
Oh no, it's gonna be fun.
Make sure to check that out at the Line Energy Powerhouse, Upper Iowa. They head to Sioux Falls. Ethan Doty, the only qualifier for the Peacocks there this weekend, also Friday and Saturday. And then that'll do it this week. Any final thoughts, Briggsy?
Nope, have fun.
Again, D3 Championships Friday, Saturday at the Lion Energy Powerhouse. Make sure to come down and support those Iowa teams that are there. Watch some great wrestling. D3 very underrated when it comes to action as well. Probably the sport in one of its purest forms. So come out and support and be entertained there. That's all I got for you. Thanks for watching this week. And Briggsy, why don't you take us out with our great line, our late friend Wyatt Schultz always used to share.
Let's keep wrestling on the move.